Well, hello and welcome to another edition of What's My Story. I'm Napoleon Bell. I'm your host, and we have another amazing story from one of our people in the community that he is just working hard to really make a difference in not only the community he works in, but the community in general. So one of those ordinary people doing extraordinary things in Central Ohio. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on Mr. Wendell Tolber, but known by so many as Officer Tolber. Wendell, good morning to you. How are you doing?
Hey, good, Napoleon. How you doing?
I'm doing well, It's good to see you this morning, and excited about the conversation. I know people that are watching will be also to learn a little bit more about that public servant, that their own private officer in a sense, but also, you've grown up, here in Columbus. So let's go back, many a year. Where did you grow up at? And, your schools, middle schools, maybe somebody watching like, yeah, I remember Wendell from grade school. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, with that being said, I have the honor of working on the precinct I grew up on, which is the east side of Columbus, 9th Precinct. 9th Precinct basically covers from Eastland Mall area all the way up to Broad and James, in between Bexley and Whitehall. Went to Skywood Elementary, Johnson Park Middle School, and Eastmore High School. And
so you're Eastmore is a Warrior? Is it Eastmore Warriors? Is that
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And with that being said, a little bit of the Ohio State University, and that's kind of a story behind that, why I did not finish school. And it's my upbringing but played a part in that. But at the end of the day, working in the neighborhood I grew up in.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, let's touch upon it a little bit, because sometimes people might see you and think that sometimes people think, well, there was no struggle. They had it easy, this, that, and the other. But as I know, and maybe others don't know, what is your story about growing up? What kind of challenges or what things let's talk about that.
Oh, quite a few, Napoleon. And like you said, some of them. At the end of the day, well, first of all, let me say this, man, I enjoy talk to the young people, especially in the inner city, that are having some of the challenge I had growing up and so forth, maybe some more, some less. But nonetheless, there were 7 of us in the house, 5 boys, 2 girls. I was the youngest of the boys. No father in the house, extremely poor. We were very poor. You kind of really didn't know it, though, Napoleon, because, our family was huge, and it's a very loving family. So it's a great family life. We were on welfare, charity newsies, you name it. We had some kind of city assistant. Mom did everything she could to bring money into the house, working 2 or 3 jobs and trying to keep roof over her head. I recall watching Mom cry on a regular basis. I knew even back then as a young man that it was because of taking care of 7 kids on her own, not having much help. So I saw the struggles. All I wanted to do is just stop those tears. So my oldest brother, he kind of jumpstarted me and showed me how to make $1. And that, I just shut off from there. He showed me how to cut grass. And from there, Wendell just went on his own and started going throughout the neighborhood. And any grass I saw that was growing above and beyond, I had an opportunity to make $1. I went there, knocked on doors in the wintertime, shovel snow. And eventually the city came out with a program back then called the CETA program. And this program was for a low-income family where the teenagers in that family, 14 and up, could work. Because back then you couldn't really work till you're like 16 years old.
Okay.
So I started CETA program and worked at the elementary school from Mount Vernon. I forget the name of it. And we were kind of working in the dungeon over there, but guess what? Wendell was glad to make $1. Following year, I went to the Salesian Boys Club over at South 6th Street, across from Grant Hospital. I really enjoyed that. At the age of 15 and a half, I'm telling on her now, my ex-sister-in-law, she was a manager over at Heritage House in the kitchen. She said, hey, why don't you come over here and make some more money at the age of 15 and a half? And back then, again, outside of the program, I know, I'm in law enforcement here. I am.
Right.
Law back at 15 and a half. Went over there at 15 and a half, man. I made sure I was the best dishwasher they had. From there, worked through high school at Heritage House washing dishes. Graduated high school, went directly into over to OSU. And about a year or so into it, had to pull out. And my little sisters, who a couple years younger than me, I needed to help them out. Mom had moved to DC, and for personal reasons, and I felt the need to help them out. So once I got them on their feet and going on, I decided, hey, let's get back to the workforce, and left Heritage House, worked a number of warehouse jobs, and got a job over at a paint company. I worked on the docks for 7 years, and they had a retail end. I went over to the retail division for it. So a total of 14 years, and I decided to call a buddy of mine up who was a police officer at the time, named Napoleon Bell. Hey,
great guy. I've heard of him.
Very humble too. And my mindset was, hey, retail is the company was good to me. The money was good. The benefits were good. Family was young at the time. I said, well, long term, I didn't see retail as being long term. So I'm thinking city, county, state jobs for longevity and security, stability. So I called Officer Bell up, said, hey, you work for a city, you hear any jobs that are posted? And these entities let me know, well, hey, why don't you be a police officer? No, that's not for me. Well, why don't you do a ride along? Well, what's that? Okay, I'll think about it. I don't know, about a month or so later, hey, how's that ride along work? And you told me, I hopped in the car with you. Within that first hour, I asked you, when the next test? Took the next test. We went down to Columbus Convention Center. There's 3,500 of us. They only needed 80 officers. Here I am today, 25
wow.
years.
Well, so what I'm hearing is that you have worked continuously since what, age 12, age 13. That it was just a constant push. What was your motivation throughout this? Because it just seems as though there was no gap. Often you'd see, kids might want to just kind of lay around or do this, that, and the other. But you were saying, you went from one thing to the next, but then stayed at. I recall, you staying at the Heritage House for years and years and years. We'd always say, "Where's Wendell at? He's working, right?" So, but there was never that gap. It was just that you were driven to make sure that you, it sounds like, provided for the family in one way or another, providing for others.
Yeah, my drive was definitely my mom and the environment that I was in. I knew I wanted to do better. I didn't want to live that way, and I knew there was better. And my mindset at the time, and Napoleon, there was people in my life that gave me that little push. I remember in elementary school, being a rambunctious little kid, and not until adulthood, I realized back then I had ADHD. So I'm bouncing around the hallway, and one of the teachers grabs me, not harshly, she just grabs me, looks at me, says, Wendell, you're going to be somebody someday. And I'm like, well, whatever. I went on back to being a kid. And little I know, just those few words right there just planted a seed in me, but unbeknownst to me.
Wow.
So with that being said, again, the environment was my drive that we were in. And like I said, I wanted to rescue mom and make sure she hadn't want for anything. And I like to think, along with my siblings, that we did a good job taking care of till her passing. So with that being said, I tell you, when I talk to some of these young people, I went through a few very humbling moments, I'll call that, growing up, whether it's my clothing that didn't match what the other kids were wearing, and the quality and so forth just wasn't up there, even when we aged out of charity newsies and things like that, and just not having the things that other kids had. And my focus wasn't necessarily on what I didn't have as what it is I could do to not acquire the things that they have, but just do better than what I was.
So yeah, that's amazing. And what do you say to a young person, or what have you said to a young person that is experiencing a lot of the same things that you've gone through, or are you that person who says you're going to be somebody someday? Because we often talk about, especially in the position that you are, you see the best and the worst, whether it be young people or older people. So how are you inspiring them, I guess, in a sense, or mentoring them when you're out there working, and also when you're off duty, when you're not working?
Well, going back to that, the words the teacher put in me, and that I growing up, I had as a dog would say, I ain't nobody, being humble. But I changed it around to I ain't nobody, but I am somebody. So now I take her, the few words she said to me, and I like to implant that into the lives of the young people that I talk to. So with that being said, my stories are usually, and I'll tell them a few stories about my growing up that were a bit of a struggle, and not necessarily to bring focus on me as it is trying to paint a picture that no matter what your environment looks like, you can come out of it. And one of my favorite stories is my special bed. I tell the kids that, hey, growing up, I guarantee you, none of you had a special bed like I had. I said, matter of fact, the bed was so special that you had to get in and out of it a certain way. I said, well, one day I found out the hard way that if you don't do that, well, the spring in the middle of the mattress caught my leg, and it gouged my leg several times as I was pulling myself out of bed. And I said, till this day, I still have those scars in my leg. So some people, they tend to gasp and things like that. And I say it lightheartedly because I don't necessarily want to bring them down, but I want to give them that story, give them an idea of how harsh it was. And there's a few more to go with that, right? And then I build them up and build up the story and everything. Let them know about chipping away, no matter what the odds look against you or what society says you can't, no, no, no. Well, you use that as a stepping stone, as a growing pain, and you continue to just chip away and thrive to be better than what you were. So with that being said, I just want to encourage them not to let their environment dictate what their future is going to be.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Very, very well said. I also love the story about the bed because it speaks to it's a matter of perspective, right? For you it was an amazing bed, right? And you had a special way of doing things, but others might say, that bed, I hate that bed because it's got that spring and it's going to cut into me.
Yeah.
But the perspective is it's a special bed and there's a special way to get in and out of this bed. Love that. Love that.
So special back then, but we changed it around a little bit.
Okay. Okay. So you've gone through school and what have you, and now you're in law enforcement. How was that transition though? People, you can look at coming from, a challenging environment, challenging life, this, that, and the other, but staying focused. And then now you're making this transition into law enforcement, where some might say, law enforcement is not something for us to do, right, or us to go into. How was that transition? Also, what your family think about it, this, that, and the other, because it is, can be a dangerous profession. How was your transition going from where you were into law enforcement, and then also being received in law enforcement?
So, for me, Napoleon, I think it was an easy transition. I say that because of this. I really believe my experience with my old company, being in retail. When I was at the company, I was in management, and customers would kind of routinely come in and kind of specifically ask for me. And I had responsibility to do outside of, just serving customers. So it would kind of hinder me, the ability for me to manage the store, make orders, cold calls, deal with accounts and so forth. So I pulled my guys to the side and I said, listen, I'm not doing anything you guys can't do. I just told them my philosophy is this. I treat everybody that come through the door like they're going to spend $1 million, even if they spend $1. So, just your customer service, treat them like gold. They're the reason why we're able to, have an income and sustain a living. So with that being said, transitioning over to law enforcement, for me, yes, they train us very well in the academy. Go get the bad guy and, suppress evil and fight crime. Part of it is service. And I think the service aspect of it is something that I've always just honed in on. because I'm not just here to write tickets and take people to jail. We're problem solvers and so forth. So yeah, for me, the transition has been, I think, pretty smooth.
Wow, very good, very good. So, and that's a good thing, because for some it's a challenge. So after the transition, now you're working the streets, and you yourself, I mean, you've been on the with CPD about what, 25 years, 23 years, somewhere in there.
Yes, 25 last November.
25 years or so. Looking at that, I'm sure it wasn't all peaches and cream, right? I'm sure you weren't, going up and tree, getting cats out of trees, et cetera. So I understand there was a critical incident, right, that you're involved in that really brought to light. I mean, how serious and how dangerous this profession can be. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. This is an example of how the job can go from 0 to 1,000, just like that. So one night, I go to take a report on an attempt burglary. So while at the resident, the victim invited me in to talk about the incident. Then we went to step outside the apartment to talk about where the attempt was made. It was officer, you naturally scan your surroundings. Now, mind you, at this time, it was on third shift at night. I know it was after 11 o'clock at night. So as I scan the area, I noticed a couple of individuals at, I don't know, 25, 30 feet away, arguing. One of them very familiar with in the area, not so, we'll call it him a not so nice of a guy in the neighborhood, but
Okay.
knows me. He knows I know him, as long as he's not doing this stuff, around me. That's all I care. So I told them, hey, take the argument somewhere else. And there was a third person standing next to him too. And I went to get my attention back to the victim. And again, I just turned over my shoulder. I don't know, 10, 20 seconds later, they're still there. I said, hey, I said, take that somewhere else. Well, the suspect, while looking at the other individual, stretched his arm out towards the ground and shot into the ground 2 times. I drew my weapon and approached him and told him to drop the gun. He looked sideways, his arm goes up, he starts shooting at me, I start returning fire. Well, as he's running, I had to stop firing because of our training. In the background, I recall, well, he was arguing with someone. Where's that person at? There's another person not too far from him. And there was a person on their porch with their child. So as he was running, what I recall, he was running past that area. So I stopped. I crouched back, hoping he wouldn't hit me. As he cleared it open, I opened fire again. He missed. I missed. I dropped the magazine, put another one back in, called for backup, and went after him. And could not find him. Fast forward, all the troops come in. They take you away from the scene, and then they start looking. I had an idea where he might be. Long story short, they found him in the basement of one of the apartments I knew he'd probably be inside of a dryer.
Oh my goodness! Wow. So, what what is going through your mind, if anything, when when someone's shooting at you, and you think the thought could be the next bullet could be the end of my life, and also, when you think about training and people out, you often hear people say, well, why didn't you shoot him in the leg or shoot, this, so what's going through your mind at that time when you're now having to pull the trigger of your firearm and potentially, either taking someone's life and you hear the shots being shot at you. What's going through your mind? Because some officers have said, it feels like slow motion and this and that. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's interesting. Several things. One, I'll go off the officers say, it sounds like slow motion. It does. Kind of like if anybody's been in an auto accident, 1,000 things go through your mind before that. Car stops, the crash stops, and so forth. The vehicles, rest in place. And not only that, too, we will put animals down for humane reasons, particularly deers. I recall one day I put a deer down, and it was my gun at the time, which is the 45. The sound just being, the ringing in my ears. My God, that's loud. Backing up to the shooting that night, I don't recall hearing the gunshots, except for a very, very low pow, if that. So.
Wow.
Everybody has their philosophy behind that your body goes into protection mode and so forth. And then again, those 1,000 thoughts, again, the background drop, who is out there? Oh, I hope he doesn't hit me. I don't want, don't want to get shot. I'm not trying to kill him as it is stop him, stop the threat. And that's what we're trained for. And I really believe, again, my training came in because thank God nobody got hit that night. We still got the bad guy. And everything worked out well.
Wow, and this is out of a mere burglary run to take a report and turns into shots being fired, foot chase, and an apprehension. Where
Yeah. Yeah.
wow, so that's quickly evolving.
Oh yeah, yeah, no doubt. And here's the thing too. On top of that, I think either before or after that, maybe once or twice before that, and I'm pretty sure at least 2 times after that. Man, I've been shot out several times. Bullets going over my head and so forth, not knowing where the suspect is and everything. So, end of the day, it's not a good feeling at all, right? And I'm sure I'm not the only officer who has been shot at or have been in a shooting to where they had to take a life. I would not want that on me, but for those who have done that for the right legal reason, that is, I still wouldn't want that. And I don't wish that on anyone. I don't think any of us want to take a life. With that being said, it's I'm sure other officers have been in a more serious situation than I have, but it's not a good feeling. But at the end of the day, they still put the uniform on the next day and come back out to the street to serve and protect.
Yeah, that's true. And that's I could go into a whole another conversation in regards to officer wellness and PTSD and those things that happen to officers who have been through so much out there. So, but let's transition though to you've been on patrol and what have you now, and now you're entering the more, I'll say, happier, friendly, working with community piece. You wanted to become a liaison officer on that same precinct, on 9th precinct. Tell us about that. And there's a transition from going from patrol to being a liaison officer. Tell us about that.
So I've been wanting to be a liaison officer for a few years now, and it's a seniority base, just like all of our jobs and everything. I just didn't have the seniority to do it, but that still didn't stop me from wanting to help out whatever CLO was in place at that time. Wherever they needed help wise, I was there to help out. And also to the community, I worked there so long, the good majority of my 25 years, a lot of the community, knew me, and they knew that I had a heart to help and so forth. So I would do whatever anyone need for the most part. And so with that being said, when the job finally came to me, I'm like, okay, this is great. Let me see how this works. So I get trained by another CLO officer, get the gist up and so forth. Prior to becoming a CLO officer, I had the ideal to clean up the dilapidated Colonial Village apartment complex. After being there for a number of years, I just drove one day. It's like, man, I know the city attorney's office is doing everything they can to help these residents out. What can we do as a community to come together, let them know, hey, we hear your voice. We're here to help you. Yes, it was a cleanup event, but we also brought resources there, help people with their health care, rent, utilities, and so forth.
Well, let's. I know we have a couple pictures on some of the projects that you've been involved in, just in doing just that with the cleanups and really collaborating with the community and other agencies to provide services and resources. So let me pull that up. So yeah, here was the one with the flyer that went out, right, for Colonial Village.
Yes.
In which that was an amazing event, and I'm just going to because I happen to be able to go to it. And tell us a little bit about these pictures, maybe that we're going to go through here.
So obviously, some of the pictures, not all of them, but obviously some of the pictures there, some of the organizations that were there to invest in people's lives, so people can have an opportunity to increase their quality of life. And that's what we wanted to concentrate on. When I say we, the community leaders that I work with, the block watches, civic associations, and so forth. And that's a banner that was donated, Fast Science donated. So that was a great opportunity to get the word out of who's participating in that. And as you can see, a lot of organizations really reached out. But it was an opportunity to work with the community and city leaders and so forth to do these events and so forth, and to be able to, again, it wasn't going to be something that's going to change their life overnight, as it was. We just want to let them know that, hey, we hear your voice, we hear you, we want to do that, but we're not done either. So we want to come back and do a few other things that will be long-term solutions to help increasing the quality of life for the residents, but not just Colonial Village, but other entities in not just 9 precinct, but throughout the city, because there's a plethora of resources that the city has, and we got to get the word out that the help is there. And Napoleon, I think I can safely say there's probably not much of anything that the city of Columbus has in place that will not make an impact in your lives that you need help with. So I'm kind of excited about that, and I want to get the word out there, but we want to revamp what we did last year and become more effective and infiltrate the neighborhoods and communities we serve and see how we can better serve and help residents out.
Yeah, I love that. It sounds like, it's about, often, you want to tell somebody, hey, go to such and such, and they can help you out over here and over there. But what you're doing on 9 precincts is, listen, we're going to bring the resources to you. We want to make sure that in these communities that whether we struggling or need the resources or need assistance, we're going to bring those resources to you to make that introduction, to be able to further to be helped and mentored through the process to make a difference, right? So you're empowering the community to be able to really lift up the community as a whole, which is definitely a great piece, and a job, I won't say well done, because it continues, right?
Yeah, it does. Now, I got to throw you a couple of bones in the bone, because back when you were a CLO on the precinct that I'm on, okay, a lot of things that you implemented and got put in place, right, are here today. And those are the entities that I'm working with, right, to help make a difference in the communities. And because of your efforts back then, that's a citywide effort that our residents really need to know about our pride centers, our block watch civic associations, and that are helping and making a difference. And they're not just making a difference in your houses, your apartment complex, your street, your roadways, what can come into the neighborhood, what can't, different deplorable conditions and so forth. You closing down Motel 1 on East Main Street, eyesore, full of crime and so forth. So there's a lot of things, again, in place that can help residents out, but we got to do a better job of getting the word out and getting the help to them.
It's all about collaboration and working together with resource providers and also the community, because when the community is engaged, it's lifting up everybody, and they feel empowered that hey, they can do it, so they're not relying on somebody. It's like what when you're growing up, right? And you're like felt empowered, and so you were making things happen. So I think you're in I know you're in a great place there, and I know the community out there is thankful that they have an officer out there that is their officer, right? And to really spearhead all these different projects, but also I think to inspire those in the community to that there is somebody out there looking out for them and advocating for them, and really care and have empathy for what folk are going through. So that's a big piece. So go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and I'm not the only one. We got 20 CLOs, one for each precinct throughout the city. And from what I've seen, they're genuine in their service to the city. But also, too, there's other officers individually, whether they're working with We Are Linden, doing cops and barbers, or whatever. There's probably a plethora, and I just simply can't think of it right now. But a lot of officers, and Napoleon, let me say this. It's not about us raising our hands and say, hey, look at us. We're the police. We're doing a good thing. Based on things that happen in the community and so forth. But what it's saying is hey, listen, we do genuinely care. We do genuinely care about the community we serve. So again, it's not just all about writing tickets and taking people to jail. Hey, how can we serve you? What help can we bring to, let me mention the immersion program too. There's a new program that Columbus Police has implemented into our training now. So the immersion program, basically the officers, they go through the same training we did 20 plus years ago, probably even you too, right? You go out on the street, train with an FTO, field training officer. Then you go back to the academy now, and then you get involved in several other additional training, but one of them is immersion program. Mm-hmm. The immersion program officers are teamed up with to a precinct, I think it's generally two. And their job is this. It's real simple. You go out to a precinct, you go somewhere. They do not give them details. You go into the community, find a problem, help find a solution. That's it.
Okay.
So they had a presentation a few weeks ago at the academy. Awesome. I mean, Napoleon, I'm telling you, these officers are doing some fantastic things. So what that's doing is, here I am 25 years later doing a few things. I did a few things way back when, but they're starting their career out helping out the community outside of just normal policing. So now when we come to that house or that resident 4 or 5 times, hey, sir, ma'am, each time you call us, these are not police related issues, but let me see what I can do. I think there might be some resources outside of what the police has to offer might be able to help you. So that mindset is kind of almost like training many CLOs for the division.
Yeah, that's I'm so glad that they're doing that, because that right off the bat, coming out of the academy, that immerses someone in the community, because we know there's officers who don't live in a city, but also maybe aren't familiar with these different areas that they're going in. Because I even know myself, I was sent way out west on my first precinct, and I had no idea of the community out there. So this really gets a jump start on, and that helps people understand those struggles that people are dealing with, to have empathy and understanding, and kind of why you're out there, because it's we have protect and serve, and so this is definitely the serve part. So I know we've run out of time. It's been an amazing conversation. I want to repeat one of the things, or two of the things that you said that really stuck with me, and it says, "I ain't nobody, but I am somebody." Right? That's very, very powerful, and then also that you have a heart to help, right? And so we hope that so many can take notice from that and duplicate that in their lives. So any last words there, Officer Tolber, for the community or those who are watching the program?
Well, tell them look for more. Like I said, we're revamping, talking about last year, what we did, where we've been, what was there, what took place, what resources are out there. Obviously, what are the problems we're dealing with in the city of Columbus? How can we, what are some of the solutions to them? And how to really infiltrate people's lives in a more direct way to where we can get those resources to them, because they may not always be able to come to us. How can we come to them? How can we get involved in their lives again, so we can change their quality of life and improve it? So look for some more change. We want to be out there, talk to some community leaders, leaders from that we've already had a number of conversations with. And so at the end of the day, what we want to accomplish is we want to talk, right? But we want to stop talking and put some things into action.
There you go. That is the key. Stop talking and let's see some action. So, Officer Tolber, we appreciate the time. We'll have to have you back to talk a little bit more, to update us on all the the different programs that are going into place for 2023. And so good luck with that. And we'll be out there assisting in any way that we possibly can. So appreciate your time there, Officer Tolber.
Thank you, Napoleon.
All right. Wow, that was Officer Wendell Tolber, 9 precinct liaison, 25 plus years of service with Columbus Division Police. And as you heard, he came from the struggling communities, continued to worked his way up, stayed focused, and is making a difference now in the community that he grew up in. So thanks so much, and thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And also, if you have somebody that has an amazing story, or just any story at all, we want to hear what's my story, because we know everyone has one. Have a great week. Take care.